Welcome to the Anxiety Relief Revolution. My name is Dan Candell. I'm your anxiety relief guy. If you are new here, welcome. I'm so happy you're a part of this conversation. If you are a veteran listener, welcome back. It's great to have you back. And in today's episode, I'm going to be sharing all about what happens if you feel like you lost your purpose, and that could be feeding into some of the anxiety. It could explain as to why you feel stressed and depressed and overwhelmed. And we're going to get deep into it today. There was a point where I used to do this process called value elicitation, where I help my clients elicit their 5 personal core values. And when I would do that, it would give them this great sense of identity and purpose, or at least how to now fulfill their purpose based on the awareness and insight that they now have within themselves. And I used to do it as a point only if people got stuck in my program, because there were some people where they would make some pretty good headway, they'd make some pretty good results, but after a little while, they'd hit a wall and they'd say, Dan, it just felt like things just came crashing down again. And I would ask people, what do you think may have contributed to that? Or what feelings came up when that happened? And for a lot of people, it was feelings of not knowing who they are anymore. It was things just came crashing down because the things that were important were no longer part of their lives. And it's almost like this part of themselves was not getting fed. And it wasn't getting fed with passion, it wasn't getting fed with purpose, it wasn't getting fed with presence, and attention wasn't going into that part of their life where it needed to go into. So what I started doing was doing coaching sessions with people to help them identify their 5 personal core values, and then I'd send them a full values profile that is like super creepy. It describes exactly who you are. It exactly describes what your purpose is. It describes like what's important to you. And these are things that people would be talking about the type of person you were at your funeral. They're not just traits or attributes. They are your personal principles, values, and driving life force. It can take anywhere between like 45 minutes to an hour and a half to identify these, depending on what's been going on in your life and depending on what you've done and depending on who's a part of your life. But this personal core values process has become an integral part of my program. And instead of leaving it as this is going to be a process that I'm going to do with people just in case they hit a wall or they fall into a rut or a slump or they feel like they're sabotaging themselves, instead of saving it as like a what if process, I now start all of my clients with this process when they join my program. So the second thing people do when they join my program is they meet either with myself or another values coach that I've actually trained. And this person or myself will help the client elicit in a one-on-one session, because this is something that can only be done individually. It's such a personal, deep process. It can't be done in a group. It has to be done individually, and it has to be done with a trained specialist who knows how to pull this information out of you. These personal core values, they explain why you attract, who and what you attract, why you repel, who and what you repel, why you may repeat destructive patterns throughout your life, why you're in certain relationships, why you're in certain situations, why you don't like to go into certain situations, why you feel stuck. And it also gives you insight into how to start fulfilling those values to feel like you are serving a greater purpose. So this also can explain a lot about your personal life, your professional life, your career goals, your dreams, your aspirations. It explains so much. And once we do that, and we also give you this whole personal profile, whenever people get the profile from me or the other values coach that I have, the client always comes back on the next session. They're like, that was so freaking creepy. It was like you've known me my entire life. And I'm like, I know, right? And it's just really interesting how accurate of a description we can get just from tapping into a person's mind for about an hour to an hour and a half or so. Now, what do they do after that? After that, I actually give them a sensory enhanced hypnosis session. In this sensory enhanced hypnosis session helps in a deeper way instill those core values and helps open the person up to be more insightful to now what their values are and how they're going to fulfill them. Because one of the reasons as to why people are so stressed, depressed, overwhelmed, and anxious is because one or two or three or all five of their values are not getting fulfilled and they're not being supported. So this is where it's really important that you know what your values are so that way you can live a life of fulfillment, a life of purpose, a life of balance, and also, if it's in your values, a life of inspiration. So that way the things that are happening in your life are congruent with the things that are important to you. And again, if you show me anybody who is stressed and depressed, who is overly anxious, who is having challenges and struggles in their life, who is unhappy with their situation, I can almost guarantee you that at least 3 of their values are not getting fulfilled in that area of their life. And sometimes it means we have to get out of that area of our life in order to get into a more fulfilling area of our life. For example, this woman that I worked with a long time ago, her family had referred her to me because I saw her entire family. I think they had a family of like 8 people and she was the last one. So I saw her and she was doing more of the traditional therapeutic route. A couple of times she went into treatment centers for depression and she was just like, she'd go into the treatment center, she'd feel fine for a little while, she'd come back out, she'd go back into her life, and 6 months later, she'd boom, be back into the pit of depression. So she went through this cycle about 2 or 3 times, and then her family said, well, we had really good results with Dan, why don't you go to Dan? So I got a referral from the hospitalization center that she was in, and I got clearance to work with her. And as I started working with her, one of the things that I did was I helped her identify her personal core values. And it was really interesting because her entire family, they were in either the medical or the nursing industry. They were all doctors and nurses. So she figured it would make sense to follow that same path and to go into that profession of nursing. So she went to nursing school. She struggled through it, meaning happiness. She wasn't really happy going through it, but she did pretty well in it. She was a brilliant nurse. She was absolutely wonderful. Her patients loved her. She was on the ball. She was spot on. She'd make her patients smile. She'd make her patients laugh. She was like everybody's favorite nurse. And she hid and masked the anxiety and the depression very, very well. She wore a very good mask while she was with her patients. The thing is, after aligning her personal core values, it became very apparent that the nursing profession was the wrong profession for her to be in. And no wonder why she kept going into these pits of darkness every 6 months, because she'd feel fine after she came out of the treatment centers and then she'd go back. Meets technology. So one of the things that I recommended that she did was take a little sabbatical from nursing, and while she was on that little break, to take a few courses in web design or graphic design. And at the time when I was working with her, this is how long ago this was, I was fresh out of college. And I took a lot of graphic design and web design courses as well. So I actually referred her to some of the courses that I took when I was in school. So when I was in university. So she actually took some of those courses, and after, I believe it was a 3-month break from nursing, she opened up her own graphic design and web design business. And she was doing it on the side, and she was also nursing, but part-time. And you know what? She was so happy with that, to the point where she eventually got out of nursing because she was making so much money with her web design and graphic design business, and she loved it so much more, and she was even more fulfilled doing that. And she just had this passion, this knack for it. Now, here's another thing that can happen as well. I talk about not just personal core values, but also relational values as well. Because when we form together in relationships, and I'm talking more about like romantic relationships with like a spouse or a partner, what happens is you have your own set of 5 core values. They have stuck in a relationship. That's where people feel like they are just existing or just coasting alongside with this person, because you don't have to have the same values, but they have to support one another, or you have to support their values, they have to support your values, and then you become aware of what your relational values are as well. So this is a process that can help transform relationships. It can help transform people's mental health. It can help you discover so much insight and wisdom into yourself. And I find it is a process that unfortunately, not many people do and not many people know about. So whenever I bring people into my group program, this is the first thing that we're doing with them. And because it's an intense process, we do make it as part of the program. We make it a core part of the program. Yet you have to be a part of the program in order for us to do this with you. And that's one of the reasons also why our program is a very fair and very good investment into your personal and professional life, because this helps you in all areas. So once you discover the areas in which your life is lacking, or you feel any bit of lack, and you become aware of your 5 core values, you can then turn that lack into gain, and you can figure out ways that you can gain with those 5 core values. Now, your core values never change. However, the way they are fulfilled may change. I'll give you an example of this. One of the people that I worked with quite some time ago built their values around their family. Now, family cannot be a value because there are certain ones that are given in society and culture. And family is one of those. So it can't be family. However, some people form their entire identity around their family, and this was the case with this person. This person had values such as things like tradition, family center, community. Which gave a sense of tradition, that sense of community, that sense of planning. And this person also began volunteering at an animal shelter. Now again, I'm not telling you have to do all these things. This is what worked for this particular person. And obviously it's very different than her values getting fulfilled by her family. But guess what? It helped. It helped because this person's values were still being fulfilled. It's just they were being fulfilled differently. And that's what happens sometimes as we go through transitions in life. The things that were important, a lot of times the things that are important inside, they're still important to us. It's just how we feed those things will change. So with that said, my friends, I hope this was insightful for you. And if you feel like you are struggling in any area of your life, I would be more than happy to talk to you and also to introduce you to my group program and community, where we have groups of like-minded people. TikTok at Anxiety Relief Guy. Follow me on Instagram at Dan Candell. And if you want to find out more about joining the group program, you can go to dancandell.com. And thank you for listening. As always, be well, do good, be true to who you are, and happy healing.